Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Thank you so much for your show of love. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community to keep growing. Hope you're well in all that you do and you're loving yourself and others like always. Today we are here for the Lemba tribe, the Lemba people of Zimbabwe. Alright. There is something I want to bring to your notice. I learned of it recently and I felt like, okay, I should share that with you. The fact that, you know, when we keep saying this, that those in Israel today might be imposters, a lot of you find that so, oh my goodness, what are these people talking about? Why are they breathing hay? Why are they what have you? Why are they this? Why are they that? And I'll keep saying it, that the year of which in which the state of Israel was created is even an evidence already for you to know that these people were planted. For the fact that, I think I'm still saying this again, maybe for those who have not heard or those who didn't hear well. Alright, for the fact that that particular place where Israel is situated today wasn't the initial place they had in mind. They tried other places in Al-Kabu land and just discovered that that place it is where it's going to suit them. And that is why they created that state there. Alright, I think a lot of you have heard of this. These are evidences, it's just clear. Now, this one is even something that will blow your mind. The fact that these people, this Lemba tribe, practice things that those in Israel today do not even know about. Most of their practices are older than even the state of Israel itself. It's older than the practices of those who are in Israel today who claim to be the Israelites. The practices of this group of people. Your Majesties, let's listen to this.
We carried the beliefs and the practices from the past with us.
Professor Magda Leroux of UNISA has also lived among the Lemba and has written a book about them. She specifically researched the Lemba's Jewish Israelite-like customs and traditions.
My main purpose was to investigate the oral traditions and to compare them with the Old Testament traditions and their customs. And it was fascinating to me to discover that their way of celebrating the new moon is even older than that of the Jewish people today. And it's interesting that the Lemba still have the pre-Talmudic way of celebrating the new moon. And that is traceable.
So, Magda believes that the Lemba have many practices that point to an ancient Israelite origin.
That has been confirmed also through our practices. The fact that we don't partake of pork, the fact that we get circumcised at a very young age, and there would be rituals which would be held immediately after circumcision, which we continue to do now. But the slaughtering, what we do is we use kosher. And the way you cut the animal, you must cut it once so that immediately it actually dies. And of course it must bleed. And bleeding has got to do with purification of the meat that you are going to eat.
All of these customs closely resemble ancient Israelite practices. They've been commented upon by early Arab traders centuries ago and by more recent European explorers who came into contact with them.
Right now, for the fact that these traditions and cultures, a lot of them are even older than the cultures and traditions of those who are in the land of Israel today, it's another eye-opening for you. All right, it's another proof for you to know that these people there who are really struggling with other people, these people there who are really taking the place of other people, taking the privileges of other people, inheriting inheritance that does not belong to them, and the rest of them. When I talk about inheritance, a lot of people were like, a lot of you feel like, what kind of inheritance? But that is the truth. Your Majesties, now these people are enjoying the privileges that are not even their own. This group of people, their leaders are aware. Their leaders are aware, and do you know what? Something is about to happen, which I'm going to share in another video. And that is also a proof that these people have been, They've always been doing havoc to our histories, the history of humanity. They've always been changing people's histories. Like someone would say, history is a lie. Almost all we know about, almost all we've heard about are all lies. Your Majesties, we need to open our eyes to discover more. Let's listen to something.
So, I consider that the so-called black people of the West are actually the Jews of the scripture. And, you know, it's a weird thing in my life because I was always taught that these people from Europe were Jews. And so, you know, you're looking one direction, you're not, but then when you start looking at like, you know, first you go like, well, are they ethnically Jew? You know, and you look for that, right? And I think the best argument for the ethnicity of their Jewish heritage is the old maps, the old sailors' maps have the interior of West Africa named Judah land, and there's a couple other things that are very Hebrew tribe related. A lot of people contend that the Ibu tribe of Africa that's just really a variation of the word Hebrew. So those are points to be made, perhaps anecdotal, because I think as I've looked into the blood path, like it's hard to follow on either side. And so I don't want to contend against the European Jewish people. Right? Like if they are a fulfillment of Noah's prophecy, we don't want to treat them the way that Ham treated Noah, right? If these are the children of Japheth dwelling in the tents of Shem, when Noah said that, he was saying they would dwell safely, right? That Shem and Japheth are brothers. So I believe that there's something redemptive to this thing. And so when I look at the black Hebrew, what is solid for me, I think about God's character. I think about the character of God. I think about the evidence of the scripture. I think about what Yahweh says to Moses when he says, surely I've heard the groaning of my people, knowing that this people have groaned. In that same way, the groan of being the captive, right? Being this whole system is parasitic to this one people and keeping this people down. And then you wonder, well, how can you get value from putting another person down? Well, it just is proof that people have value. And specifically when you talk about the Hebrew people, I think that would also say that, you know, the record of the Hebrew race, do we need to know the blood ethnicity of the Hebrews? I don't know. But I when I look at the way that the Jew of the scripture, the way the Hebrews of the scripture were treated, this people has been treated that way. And what it says of the people in Deuteronomy 28, that if they rejected his law, what would happen to them? That has happened to this people. Read that, Deuteronomy 28. It says that they would be taken on ships into Egypt again and be placed in bondage, and no one would redeem them. That has happened to this people. You know, like it's over and over. And so you're like, you start asking the question, like, do you mean to tell me that God's not going to help this people because they're not Jews, even though the system has treated them 100% as if they were? And you don't think the God that delivered captives out of Egypt isn't near to this people? I tell you, they are special to him. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about this as I was coming in, that the idea that the system that enslaved them could then liberate them just is not true. Really, what I think we need in this life is the prophetic eyesight to get out of the way, right? Yahweh is doing an act of deliverance. And I also would say, as part of the black-white equation, I would argue that is the Jew-Gentile equation. That's the same dilemma, that the Jew was black, right? We know that the people that are here that came on ships from West Africa, we call them black, but they're not black, they're brown, because black isn't about the color of the skin. Black is about polarizing the ruling class from the slave class, right? And so when the scripture talks about the dividing wall between Jew and Gentile, the Jew was the slave. When the Jew reject Yahweh, the story was they would go back into bondage. And wait, right? Groan, for what a time.
Alright, just leave your thoughts and comment there at the section, Your Majesties, and I'll see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive, always. Bye for now.